Welcome back to The Bad Perspective, a podcast presented by She Bad. I'm founder and host Keylani, and this is episode 6. Today we are very casual, and I'm just going to jump right into things because I have a lot of opinions, and I felt like the best place to come and share them would be through the podcast. So I don't know if you guys saw, but over the weekend, Lotto, the rapper, she shared that she is not only pregnant, but she's pregnant and also dropping an album. Pregnancy announcement also came with the release of a music video for her latest single, which will be one of the ones that are, getting us ready for this album that she's releasing. But pretty much her entire persona and, theme of this announcement was that this baby is not stopping anything. I'm going to continue to work. I'm going to do this project. I'm, living my life, but I'm doing both business, which would be the album, and then I'm also taking care of my personal life and having my child. So that was her attitude and whole, demeanor, if you will, with the release of this announcement, both the album and this baby. And I would assume that she was prepared for backlash of some sort because people have always had a lot of opinions on her relationship. If you do not know anything about her, she has been very public about the fact that she's in a relationship, but she's not confirmed, just flat out said, I'm dating XYZ. She's never said that. She's alluded to things. They've let rumors, go by over the years, but she's never flat out said, this is my man, this is his name, this is who I'm dating. And no man has ever come out and said, I'm so and so, I am dating Lotto. So they've decided to keep that private, secret, whatever you want to call it. However you want to flip that, it's not confirmed public information, point blank. Of course, the internet has had a lot of opinions, and honestly, I would say less opinion based and more just like dogpile bullying. And I'm tired of that. I just feel like it's very cheap, honestly, to do that. It's very annoying to me when these types of things come up because people don't want to have a real conversation about women's sexual and romantic health. They want to dogpile and bully. That doesn't help anything. You having an opinion about Lotto, who is actively pregnant, we don't know how far into her pregnancy, but she's pregnant. You going onto the internet with your opinion based off of the little information you have on her and her familial situation does what? What does that do? It's not helping anything. It doesn't do anything. Whatever conversation you're trying to have to put shame on pregnancy, clearly it's not working. Like, clearly women are going to make the decisions that they make, but I think what is important is to figure out how are we getting to these outcomes? How are we getting to the point where we're seeing this many women in this situation? Why the dog pile when they're already pregnant? And not only is she already pregnant, she's far along in her pregnancy. So you having any negative opinion on it doesn't help anything. It's not resulting in any sort of outcome that you would have wanted because she's already pregnant. It's already done. That part doesn't make sense to me because the opinions and the dogpiling come when they've already announced that they're pregnant. The damage, quote unquote, is done. What is it that you're wanting to see happen? What do you want her to do? I just don't understand also the visceral reaction that people have because it's always so aggressive and pointed, and it doesn't warrant any result. What is supposed to happen now that you've shared your opinion on the internet? She's already pregnant. And realistically, we find out about celebrity pregnancies pretty late into their pregnancy. We find out probably when they're like 6-7 months pregnant. So you now coming to the internet trying to shame her does what? What does that do? And the thing is, people do not want to have a real conversation. They want to bully. They want to have an audience where they can share whatever opinion they have, whether it's good or bad, on women who are pregnant out of wedlock, especially if they are young and black. And my thing is there a real conversation to be had about this? Absolutely. The issue is no one wants to have a real conversation about women's sexual health. No one wants to have a real conversation about the responsibilities that both men and women have when it comes to creating life. No one wants to have a real conversation about women in romantic relationships and the different things that take place that would allow for this result to keep happening time and time again. And you know how I know this? Because at no point in these takes that people have do they bring up the man. The man is never involved. They never hold the man accountable. And we see that time and time again. I think the first thing is to ask yourself, how are we ending up in this situation? And at what point is it a choice versus something that's happening to you? A little bit of both. I think that for some women, yes, they are definitely choosing single motherhood. I don't think that that's really up for question. If you have a conversation with a lot of women in real life, a lot of them are actively choosing single motherhood. They are finding the quote unquote best father that they can find for their children, making a baby, and going into a situation where they know, I'm not married to this man, I'm not committed to this man in any way, and I just want my child. If he's here, great. If he's not, cool. I want my baby. That's a lot of women. And then you have situations where there are women who are actively in relationships with the fathers of their children before they are pregnant, while they are pregnant, and even after, and it just doesn't work out. I also want to acknowledge the whole, like, how did she get pregnant? I don't understand. I mean, like, how did she get pregnant? She got pregnant because she's a grown woman who had sex. Whether she's doing that unprotected, whether she's not using any form of contraception whatsoever, whether the contraception did not work, or, they just out here doing their thing. I don't know. But listen, she had sex. I don't know why people act so stupid and taboo with that. We all know how people get pregnant. You either have sex or you had IVF. How else are you getting pregnant? There's no other way to get pregnant. I don't even know where I left off because I kind of went on a tangent there. But I say all that to say the dogpiling doesn't do anything. My issue with the dogpiling of the internet is while this woman has found herself in this situation and clearly is taking accountability, and accountability looks very different to everybody, but I think carrying out a very healthy, happy pregnancy as best she can given her circumstances is more than we could ask for. Why do you think that you should now bully her or shame her or make her feel guilty when that's not really our business? It's not our business to know any shame or guilt attached to these pregnancies that these women feel. It's just really not. If you see a person at the store and you know, oh, she doesn't have a ring on her finger, but she's pregnant, do you walk up to her and be like, hey, do you feel any shame? Do you feel any guilt? Because you should. Nobody does that because it's not our business. So why do you think because it's a celebrity or a public figure that now you can go and try to publicly shame them? Like, that is the part that is just so corny to me. If you want to change the situation and the pattern, if you will, that we're seeing in these recent years with young Black women and single motherhood, young Black women and pregnancy, whatever you want to call it, you have to address the entire situation. A real conversation that's had with women with what they should expect, what standards they should set for themselves, how they should handle themselves, what they should expect of their partner, etc. Think back to you having your birds and bees conversation. Was it a real conversation of this is what sex is in a real way? This is what you can expect. This is the reality of the situation. And these are resources that you can tap to. These are things that you can do to protect yourself. These are things that you can do to explore your sexuality. No one, let's be for real. People are not having that candid of a conversation, especially not with teenagers. So now you have a girl who was in high school, sexually active. She goes to college, sexually active. She's in her post-grad. She's an adult now. She's a grown woman, sexually active. And she really doesn't have a full education around sex in relationships. And then you're upset with her because she finds herself pregnant. Well, did you do anything to prevent that other than, oh, don't get pregnant, just telling them don't get pregnant? A lot of girls are shamed into going on birth control because then it makes them fast. So then they end up being grown women who've never been on birth control, never even used a tampon, but now you're trying to tell her not to get pregnant. So then you put her in a situation with a man where she's having to say, I can't protect myself via birth control because that's not good. So I need you to put on a condom. And the man says, insert plethora of things men say to get out of wearing a condom. So now you have a girl who is in a sexual situation with a man, and she has to have a conversation with him that she really isn't educated for. One thing I've always known is you have to have your own standard for how you want to live, and how you want to be treated, especially when dating. And I think a lot of women miss out on that conversation because, especially in the Black community, dating of any kind, any interest in dating when you are younger is looked at as fast, being grown, inappropriate. And realistically, it's not inappropriate. If you are in puberty, your body is naturally going to be attracted to people. You're going to be interested. You're going to be curious. And I think a lot of Black girls' curiosity is shut down. And instead of it being embraced and met with community and guidance from older women, it's met with shame. And then we kind of get confused and surprised when we see women in their 20s and some in their 30s who are single mothers. And you're like, well, how could this be? How could this be? We thought more of you. At the end of the day, they are women who have not had the proper guidance, clearly, and also, these men are not being held accountable either. So, what did you expect? I mean, we have to hold ourselves accountable as a community first, and then on an individual level as well. I think most of the women we've seen be pregnant in these last few years have done so with grace, I would say. I think that they've announced it. They've been able to enjoy them to, whatever extent that they can because they are still being met with visceral reactions and opinions and hate during their pregnancy. How can you expect a woman to have a very happy, healthy, and exciting pregnancy when every day she goes on her phone and there's a new article or a new headline or a trending topic and it's her and her out of wedlock pregnancy that the public is in disagreement with or disapproves? And so I feel like, yes, can you have opinions? Yes, can you have a standard for what you think is and isn't appropriate? For sure. But can you put that standard on someone else, especially on a public platform? No. And I think we have to be very real about the fact that a lot of women go into dating and kind of have things happening to them. A lot of women do not date with intention because they were never given an intentional conversation. At no point in their womanhood has an older woman sat with them and really like put them on game and said like, look, when you go out and you date, carry yourself in these ways. When you go out and you date, make sure he does these things. Make sure he does this. Like just on a principle based level. A lot of women do not have that. And you have to acknowledge that because when you go into situations and you really are not prepared, it doesn't matter what you do. If you go into a job interview, if you don't know best practices for an interview, you won't perform well. If you don't know what is and isn't appropriate to be asked in an interview, you might be mishandled. Like if you don't have the information you need to protect yourself and to show up as best as you can, how can we expect to have the best result? It's the same thing with dating. If no one is pouring into you, no one is telling you, hey, look, regardless of nothing, these are certain things that this should take place. That should happen. That should be a given, right? No one's really having that conversation. People just want to have, oh, don't get pregnant. Oh, don't have sex. That's not realistic. A lot of grown people have sex. So at that point, with the reality that we're working with, how can you help them? I think going into dating of any sort with intention and a real thought process on what I want my relationship to look like before I'm even in it, before there's even someone who has piqued my interest, I knew what I wanted my relationship to look like. I even knew how I wanted to meet the person because I'm like, I want my relationship to feel this way. I want to feel this way when I'm dating someone. I want to be in a relationship that looks like XYZ thing. I was very intentional about that. And then when I found myself in a relationship, it just so happened that all of the things that I really wanted ended up working out. But I think a big part of that is because I went into it with that intention. And had I seen things that did not align with what I wanted my relationship to be, I would have been more confident and assured in leaving my relationship if I needed to. And so I think that is something I want women, especially Black women, to have is intention and knowing what the priority is. And the priority is you. You cannot control anyone but yourself. You cannot control the outcome of anything besides your actions. And I think something that most Black women know, but I know especially, is I have to be 100%, actually 110% with whatever decision I make, because regardless of the outcome, people will make it your responsibility. That brings me to our blog, because I feel like at the time I wrote this, I was kind of like, okay, like I'm in a relationship, but a lot of girls are not. And I know I'm very headstrong, and I know that, relationships are cute, relationships are fun, but at the end of the day, I'm the priority. Like in my life, I'm the priority. And good, bad, or indifferent, I have to put me first. You don't have a lot of opportunities to position yourself in the best way you can and be selfish in that way. So if you have it, I would say take it. And so that is how I ended up with this blog, because I'm like, this is an easy way to kind of put someone maybe on game and kind of nudge them to be like, look, like you can worry about you. The relationship will be there. Actually, before I keep going, I'm going to read the blog. Lover Girl. Love isn't the end or the beginning. Oh, to be a lover girl with ambition. Society would consider that a contradiction, but it's not. It's okay and very normal to desire a romantic connection. Just make sure your person knows they aren't bigger than the program. They can be a lovely addition to your life and a relationship you pour into, but not the priority. You have goals to reach, and they shouldn't be a headache along the way. That's my thing too, is like if you're going to be around, be an asset, okay? Don't be a liability. Don't add unnecessary stress. Don't make me out here losing hair, losing sleep, finding rashes on my arm because you got me stressed out and I'm worrying every other day. Don't bring any drama into my life. Do not have me sitting around trying to figure out what went wrong when. No. If you're going to be around and just be fun. Okay? If you're going to be around and be useful. You need to bring me some fun, some joy, happiness, all the good stuff. I don't want to have no extra hoopla in my world. That's just me. Okay? And not to say you won't argue, not to say you won't be stressed out, not to say you won't have moments where maybe you're not as happy as you used to be or whatever, right? It's a relationship. That's a given. You're going to have highs, you're going to have lows. But I don't want the lows to be disrespect. I don't want the lows to be abuse. I don't want the lows to be manipulation and cheating and lying and all that stuff. No. That's not going to work. So, for me, I knew going into dating when I was in college, this is what I want to experience. And I've not experienced this. I've not had a situation where I'm feeling XYZ way. If anything, I'm feeling the complete opposite. And when I realized that, I said, I'm doing it wrong. I have to prioritize what I want. I have to go into things with intention. And the moment I see something I don't like, I'm out. Bye. And that is how I started to move. And when I started moving like that, baby, I was single. I was single. And I was okay with that because I'm someone who enjoys being alone. Like, I love alone time. I love my solitude. And in that time, I learned a lot about myself. I also mentioned that it is normal to want romance because people love shaming girls who they deem as smart and ambitious and driven and all these things into not wanting to date. Like, if you are a girl who has so many good things going for you and you're like, I just wish, I had a romantic partner, people look at you like, what? Huh? And it's like, she can want to date? Like, dang. If you're this person and then you still want romance, people look at you like, like you're like boy crazy or something, or like you don't have your priorities straight. And it's like, no, it's very normal for a grown woman to be like, I want romance. I want to go on a date. I want to have someone tell me I'm pretty, and I want someone to treat me nice, and I want to give a hug or a kiss or whatever. Like, it's very normal. Like, she's grown. Let her date. Let her, desire that. Like, that's okay. And so I wanted to include that. And I also wanted to remind the girls that even in your dating, you are the priority. So no matter how much fun you're having, no matter, what's going on, don't forget it's you who you have to put first. And I think that that is something a lot of girls either don't know, or maybe they kind of slip and they forget. Wherever you are in your journey, it was a reminder to put yourself first and also remember you are the priority. Just wanted to talk to you guys because the internet was getting on my nerves this week, and I was just like, shut up. Nobody asks your opinion. But also, it's a dumb opinion. Like, you're not even talking about nothing. You just want to hear yourself talk. Like, that really be the thing. Like, the internet really doesn't have much to say. They just keep saying the same thing 8 different ways, you know? And I was just like getting tired of that. Like, you're not gonna keep doing this to people. It's annoying. So I hope, if nothing else, this is a conversation starter and a real opportunity for you as a viewer, listener, to think about what you want in your own life, right beyond dating. What do you want? We start the process of getting a thought around these different elements of life and seeing what feels the closest to you and natural to you. So I leave you guys with that. Thank you so much for listening to me rant for a little bit, because I kind of went off on a tangent.